we were talking about as a band and what we wanted to achieve musically, and a lot of it has to do with what is the idea of community and when it does lose meaning, and when you want when you rely on your own personal community and what you want from that. So on the other hand, Church with No Magic is about how a community can be meaningless, can lack substance, and you can buy into it and sometimes be let down by it and walk away from it. It could be, it doesn't have to be a church. It could be any kind of social thing that you maybe believe in at one stage, but then it lets you down, or it could be an institution that promises a lot, like like a church, I suppose, that doesn't have meaning for you anymore. So I guess it's a kind of existential album about meaning in life and existence and social interaction.
When I sigh for a while, oh, to decide, I won't slip, I won't fall, I won't change, no, I won't slip, I won't fall, I won't change, no, I wrote to you,
Touring the world after growing up and developing music in Australia, it's very distant from the rest of the world. It's a very outdoor culture. It's very relaxed, but it has an isolation from the rest of the world as well. So I guess that isolation comes through our music. It's not all beaches and kangaroos. It can be an isolating place. It's actually hard to do experimental music there. It's very hard to do something bold and different because you've kind of got popular radio and not much else in between, Technically, my dad's English and my mother's Croatian. When we were just out of high school, they still persisted that maybe music is just a hobby and you should take something else on, a real career. But we persisted and they stopped asking those questions, and now they're really quite proud of us. I think my dad has no idea how we live day to day and what we do. It's very different world from here. He comes from a very disciplined English background, and I mean he stopped listening to music in the 60s, I think. He said to me, they hadn't seen us play for a while, and we did a gig, and I asked him a few days later what he thought of the gig, and he said, Richard, that was some of the best guitar music I've seen since The Shadows, circa 1965 or something. And I never have musical discussions with my dad, so that was really odd and funny to me. But I love how he quoted the only sort of guitar band he knew, from the 60s. You couldn't equate it to anything else, I do remember learning some violin when I was very young, when I was about 5, my first lessons, and we had Suzuki method, and they give you like a tissue box, and you get a ruler and you sticky tape the ruler to a tissue box. You don't actually have a real violin, you pretend to play this tissue box. And I just have a memory of the teacher playing the music, and we had to play in time with the music. So maybe that, I don't know, that's an early memory I have, something about the physicality of and connection between your hands and music and hearing it. I think I decided when I was about 10 years old or something, 10 or 11 years old, I decided I really wanted to play guitar because I was just listening to rock, you know, and that's all I wanted to do. And then when I finished school, I went into studying music after school. Went from there, I suppose, and was always in bands. I don't know how to do anything else. I'd be useless to be employed at anything else, I think.